Hey, welcome back. It's the Jared cast, baby.
Woo!
Oh, that's so disappointing. I went to I'm out
Damn.
here getting cut. Damn. All right, well, put in some fake horn honks, because we're back. It's been a while for us. It's been a little less of a while for you guys, but it feels good to be back in the
Mm.
saddle. And we had to reunite for one of our favorite shows. We reviewed a season three. I don't think we reviewed one or two on this. That might have been, I think that was before the pre-Jared cast.
It was yeah, a couple years before.
Yeah, makes sense. I don't know. It feels like we've been doing this shit forever. But we're back with season four of Atlanta. If you
Mm.
didn't read the title before you clicked, first off, I appreciate your blind faith in us. Thanks for listening. Second off, go watch season four or seasons one through four if you need to catch up. It's a fantastic show, and we're gonna spoil the fuck out of it.
Yes.
He said, "We, who's we?" It's me. I'm Jared, and with me is also Jared. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Yeah, I've been this was my most anticipated thing. I didn't really care uh as much about other movies that came out this year or other TV shows that came out this year, so I'm very, very excited to talk about Atlanta season 4.
Yeah, same. We've been pretty diehard. It's been what like the only show that we both have watched since day one that we've both nerded out together.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm hyped to get into it. But it's not time to get into it, is it, Jared?
No, it is not. It is not. It is actually time to do a top five. Woo, woo, woo. Um, Atlanta is a show about Atlanta, and one of the main things about Atlanta, the city, is that it's kind of this new cultural hub for hip hop music. And so we're going to talk about our top five Atlanta music artists. Um, it's interesting. I was the one that suggested not doing all rappers, but then I ended up doing mostly rappers for my top five, just because
Dope.
they're that good. There's
Yeah.
so many like it is the center of hip hop right now, and because of its deep and rich history, we're gonna start our top five off of that. Do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I can go first because I got kind of a goofy one for number five.
Go for it with your
Um,
number five.
I did do all rappers, just because I don't know. It felt weird to not do all rappers for Atlanta, and I just kind of wanted to.
Yeah,
That's it. That's all it comes down to.
for sure.
And keeping with breaking the rules, I don't think my number five is the fifth best rapper from Atlanta.
Yeah.
I want to get that out there on the table. But I think he deserves more recognition. I think there is even an actor in this show who is a better rapper from Atlanta, probably two. um, but I think from his influence, he just needs more shine. So I wanted to give him a shout out. He's actually in this season, and that's Soldier Boy.
Yep. Got it. You got it.
Soldier Boy, tell him. I just honestly like he was probably at least the first rapper that I listened to and liked relatively. I'm not like bumping Soldier Boy in the whip.
You
But he
should.
was one
It's
of the
fun.
I should. Someone's gotta kiss him through the phone. But he was one of the first rappers that I took notice on how he was using like the changing landscape of music perfectly to his advantage. The man was pumping out ringtones before like every rapper was.
Uh
He
huh.
was like in terms of adapting with the internet, Soldier Boy's hard to beat. It's like him and
Yeah.
Lil B and that's it. Like they were kind of the pioneers of it, and I don't think we'd have a lot of the internet kind of spastic rap landscape that we see today without Soldier Boy. As tacky as he is, as bad as he is, as many atrocities that Crank That leads to in Atlanta. Um, You got to give credit where it's due. Do I think he's better than Future or 21 Savage, who will not be appearing on my list? No, but I think he deserves more credit.
Yeah, I felt so bad cutting 21 from my list,
Boom.
but because he's so good.
Yeah.
And I find it even funnier that Soldier Boy was the guy who pushed him out.
Yup.
Yeah, honestly, like Soldier Boy's great. I think I think for as far as like modern hip hop goes, I think it's him and Kanye West that are the most influential.
Yeah.
Yeah, you like even though Drake has a higher reach, like Drake copies Soldier Boy. Like he took his flow. He did. He took his
Yeah.
flow.
Yeah.
Um, on a completely unrelated note, Ray Charles, number five. Yeah, this guy. The reason why he's lower on the list is because he's not strictly speaking from Atlanta. He's not like an exclusively Atlanta artist. He doesn't live out there.
Mm,
He didn't live out there when he was alive, but um, he did play there a lot. He and is on the Mount Rushmore for all time R&B, and wrote the song, and his song Georgia on My Mind is so damn good that it became the Georgia state song. So I felt like I had to include him.
yeah.
Yeah,
Nice. Yeah. I mean, a fucking legend.
yeah.
Absolutely. And now it feels like we're equivalating him, Ray Charles and Soulja Boy.
Well, and also there's a Ray Charles song featured in the show in
Mhm.
season four. So I thought it was fitting.
Yeah. Yeah. My number four is an artist. I'm sure I've kind of nerded out about him on this podcast, but definitely on listen to this. Rest in peace, temporarily. Um, we've nerded out a lot about this guy on there. I love his solo work, but I know him more and appreciate him more as one half of Run the Jewels, and that's Killer Mike.
Yeah,
An absolute legend in the underground, and then Run the Jewels kind of brought him to the mainstream. Um, and he's just fucking killer, pun
yeah,
intended. His flows are insane. His lyricism has such a bite to it at all times that gives Run the Jewels the edge they needed. But he's also not afraid to be goofy. Like he'll tell you to run backwards through a field of dicks, and you'll just have to do it because he's so commanding. So I absolutely love Killer Mike. I think he's a fucking legend and has ingrained himself as an easy top four rapper from Atlanta, including everybody else. That's not even with influence and all the other things that weaseled Soldier Boy's way up there. I think he's earned this spot.
yeah, for sure, man, for sure. Um, my yeah, I love Killer Mike, and I was sad to not include him. I also didn't know he was from Atlanta until I googled rappers from Atlanta.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, my number four is probably the like there's the generation before him that includes like Two Chains and Gucci and Future, and all those guys are obviously like more accomplished, more influential than my number four. But I just love the uniqueness of his voice and of his vocal style, and I like his music just a little bit better. And I'm gonna go with Young Thug as my
Mm.
number four. I think he's very good as far as like that Atlanta trap style is, and as much as I appreciate all the others like 21 and Migos and Future, like all those guys, like I don't know. I like his versatility. I like that he can do a bunch of different things, both as a feature artist and as a solo artist and as a collab artist. Yeah, Young Thug is my number four.
Yeah, a great pick for this top five. I even brushed up on Young Thug because I don't know. I feel like I just kind of skipped over him apart from features, which I always liked him in. And going back and doing a deeper dive, I really fucked with him. He
Hmm.
still narrowly missed my list, um, but a great pick, and I'm happy to see him included. Um, and one of the reasons he missed my list was my number three. And that's Jid.
Mm,
Absolute fucking legend in the making. Definitely the newest artist on my list. But I think he's got such a high ceiling, man. I haven't been this hyped about an artist and seeing their future since like Kendrick. Like
yeah,
I'm like that excited every time he drops. Almost as excited as I am when Kendrick drops. Just because it's always unique. Every project is different. Whether it's his newest project or something with Spillage Village or DiCaprio 2, all entirely different sounds, but he meshes Atlanta trap with gospel, with like a Chicago sound. The man can sing, his flows are insane. His pen game is even better than Killer Mike's. Um, and I think he just has such a high ceiling, and I think he's going to continue to do great things. And I also think he dropped maybe the best rap album, at least the best rap album so far for me this year. That says a lot because there's some competition this year.
yeah,
Uh, this man's fantastic, and I'm so excited to see if he can manage to climb up past my number one and number two someday.
hell yeah, hell yeah, yeah. Like the Forever Story is, I haven't listened to like a ton of new music from 2022, but it's like a top
Mhm.
five album, at least, maybe top
Yeah.
three of the year.
Hmm.
Um, Definitely, definitely. My number three is only 33.333% rapper. Um, if you can't already guess from that, from my little intro, what this group is. Um, yeah, for those who are not familiar, LaFace Records is based in Atlanta and was responsible for the success of Usher and a whole bunch of other famous R&B artists, started by L.A. Reid and Babyface. And one of their earliest discoveries, I think after Usher, no, maybe before, I don't remember, in my research, but TLC, the most influential girl group probably of all time, even though, talent wise, Destiny's Child probably surpassed them,
Yeah.
even though numbers wise, Spice Girls have them beat. All of them follow in TLC's footsteps for a lot of their vocal chemistry, for a lot of their writing style, for a lot of their focus on girl empowerment and female empowerment and just be and fusing R&B with hip hop. I think TLC still holds up a lot of their old albums, especially Crazy Sexy Cool. And yeah, number three.
Hell yeah. I didn't think they were rap enough to make my parameters. But I definitely worth all the credit you gave them. Yeah, I'd say them and Spice Girls are easily the most influential girl groups, and the impact they've had on the Spice Girls is worth note alone. So like,
Yeah,
I think that's 100% valid, and I'm happy to see them make the list.
hell yeah.
My number two is going to also probably kind of give away my number one, um, because they come together. But I wanted to do individual rappers and not duos,
Makes sense.
um, just to keep it a little cleaner. So you could probably already guess who makes up these. Um, and my number two, very narrowly. I think it's a very close race, but I'm giving it to Big Boy. I think he just falls a little bit short of my number one. Which I guess I could just say you could do yours back to back. It's Andre, obviously. I'll just knock them both out. Um, I think together they're absolute insanity. Big Boy's solo work since has been kind of mid for me. Not well, it's hit or miss, I guess is a better way to put it. He's got some good stuff, some real bad stuff. But together they are my favorite rap group of all time. So I have to.
Yeah.
How could they not be number two and number one for this? They could literally have just dropped ATLians and Aquemini, and they would still have this list if this that was their only two albums. But the fact that they have Southern Playalistic, Staconia, The Love Below, um, all just keep them in legendary status, in goat status. I think Andre makes a run for the goat of rap for me in my list. Tough to see without solo material if that would hold up, but I think they definitely deserve a very close number one and number two for Atlanta rappers.
Definitely, definitely. I'm kind of glad you did your number one and number two together because I could just do my number one and number two together.
Yeah,
Um, my number two is Soldier Boy.
let's go. Suck it, Ray Charles.
Here's the thing: every time I put on like a new piece of clothing that I just bought, and I see myself in the mirror, every time this right here is my
Well,
sweat.
sweat.
Like he's just in my head forever. And
Yeah.
he's so he doesn't give a shit about like what other people think about him. I love how freely he talks shit on podcasts and radio and all that stuff. I love watching those clips of him in interviews. Um, I even like the songs that are cringy. I still listen to them and I still nod my head in the car to them. They're
Yeah.
like he's Soulja Boy, like Soulja Boy, like of course.
Yeah.
And then my number one is Outcast because yeah, they're
Yeah.
it's undisputed in my opinion. I'm sure that people from that there may or may not be people who disagree who are more familiar with hip hop than I or more familiar with the Atlanta scene than I, but yeah, as far as like what I've heard and what I've listened to, I can't think of anybody that even comes close to touching Big Boy and Andre together.
Hmm.
Um, they, yeah, all time greatest rap duo.
Yeah. Absolutely. Um, and have a huge influence on this show, being a show about rap in Atlanta.
Yes.
We see it in a lot of emotional climaxes. An Outcast song is playing. One that stuck in my head from previous seasons is Earn going back to his storage locker that he lived in to elevators
Yeah.
in the episode. I'm already gonna lose it. I think it's actually episode one. The most Atlanta. Um, the location of Blue Blood's funeral it's an Outcast reference. The street corner. I don't even remember what song or what corner, but it's in an Outcast song. We get
Yeah.
a Goody Mob song at the climax of the second to last episode. So you can even see their influence in this show and in this season, which I absolutely loved. Transition, transition, transition. Somebody didn't though. It's bad reviews.
Smooth.
I
Smooth.
was trying that whole time to have something. Yep, we're back with Jared reads poorly written reviews of movies that we watch because it's funny and makes them laugh and stuff. This one comes from IMDb review of episode three, Born to Die, which was a fantastic episode in my opinion, but not in Fenster David's opinion, who gave it a 1 out of 10, said, "Stop trying to convince yourself this is worth watching. Stop trying to convince yourself that this is worth watching. Time to admit it. This series sucks. Nonsensical premises and setups in the name of being hip or Twilight Zone weird. All for what? I've watched every episode. Lakeith Lee Stanfield's character was the only source of humor in the first season, but in this episode, he's give one line. Brian Tyree Henry is the only reason to watch. He's a fantastic actor. Otherwise, don't waste your time or energy convincing yourself this is worthwhile art, entertainment, or uplifting storytelling. It isn't. Donald Glover, the Emperor has no clothes. I don't really.
Ouch.
Yeah.
That's mean.
Yeah. It's episode 3.
Damn, dude. All right. Yeah, I don't know how to feel about episode 3. I feel like it might be. I think it's my least favorite of the season, but I definitely like. I like. I don't, it's not gonna make me stop watching and hate it.
Yeah.
That's a little much.
Yeah.
That's a little
I think it's
much.
also my least favorite. Just because I thought the D'Angelo B plot ended up falling a little flat, but I liked the young white artist plot line
Yeah,
that Paper Boy goes through.
definitely, definitely. I was just a little disappointed it wasn't D'Angelo. I was like,
Yeah.
it's
Or that
okay.
he didn't sign the guy.
Yeah. Um, yeah. My as far as like my thoughts about season 4 overall, um, I think this is just as good, if not better, than the rest of the show. I think this cements Atlanta as probably my personal favorite show. Sorry, Avatar: The Last Airbender. For reigning champion for 15 years, gets unseated. We'll see if that's just recency bias in the next few years, but and see if Atlanta holds up after that time. But so far, yeah, I think satisfying endings to all the core characters, very compelling cinematic expressions that fulfill the show's main premise. We see a lot of stuff that we've seen before in Atlanta, and but still some stuff that surprised us. There are a lot of very heartfelt reveals from characters that I wasn't expecting. I was kind of expecting to keep things mysterious, but I'm
Mhm.
happy that they revealed these things. I think there's some really, really beautiful editing, especially in the episode Snipe Hunt. And then I also still I found it unpredictable as fuck. Like it was really, really good. And who could see the goof who sat by the door coming? Like in their
Nobody.
in their final season. Like, how do you even predict something like that? And then also, I think it's a badass ending. It's such a great season finale. It was originally not planned to be the season finale, and then they just thought like it'd be a great note to leave on. And I think it's a genius move, man. It's so good. So I'm gonna give Atlanta season 4 a 9.6. I
Yeah.
don't I don't think it's as strong as 2 and 3, but I do love it a lot, and it made me very, very happy.
Yeah. Same. I have pretty much nothing but positive things about this season. I was very satisfied with everybody's ending for their respective arcs. I think it stayed funny, inventive, incredibly surreal, uh, literally up until the very last moment. And this season probably tugs on my heartstrings. Apart from Van crying out for Lottie, as much, if not more, than any other episode or season has of this show to this date. I think it's a roller coaster that has such a satisfying ending. I wish there were four more seasons of this show for me to watch, but I'm also kind of glad it didn't. I'm glad that every single episode has fresh ideas that can start important conversations, that have something to say, but don't withhold from being entertaining, funny, scary at times, and giving you characters to fall in love with and follow day to day. I think it's literally probably the best show ever made, to be
Yeah,
honest, which is insane for especially for just four seasons. But what they've accomplished is incredibly unique and I hope influential. I hope that this sparks new creative ideas in television writers, directors, and actors because they set a high bar for just doing something unique that hasn't been done. And I think that's a fantastic feat. And I think you see all of those critiques and compliments in this season. You mentioned the goof who sat by the door. They just throw a mockumentary in the middle of the episode and don't tell you if it's real or not. They just have that kind of balls. The last episode is one of my favorite series finales of all time. And I had high expectations for how they were going to end this show. Pretty much every episode has memorable moments, memorable jokes, memorable scenes that just stick with me daily. I today I was talking to Renato about a script we're writing, and I referenced this season like three times because it was so in my head. This show will always stick in my head because it's that fucking good. I'm feeling a 9.8 on season four of Atlanta.
very cool, very cool. Um, how would it rank? Like, how would you rank the seasons individually?
Oh, it's very tough. Um, I might go and like by the slimmest of margins, especially for my top three, but I think I might go season two, four, three, one. But like that would change just on a rewatch or like how
Yeah,
what mood I'm in that day.
definitely, definitely. Yeah, I still think two is my favorite, just because it's so balls to the wall
Hmm.
and and so like dangerous, but also just yeah, it's really cool. And and very, I don't know, it unlocked something in me for sure.
Yeah.
But I yeah, I still have nothing like super bad to say about the first one. About this one, I mean.
Hmm.
Yeah. How would you wanna how do you want to start, or what do you want to focus on first?
Um, I don't know.
Individual characters.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Cool. So a lot of the endings kind of happen separate from the final episode. We
Hmm.
see Ern's ending actually as just an individual character. Um, you know, it ends as early as episode two, where he kind of just learns about how fucked it up he is, and it doesn't end. Obviously, you
Yeah.
know, there is the snipe hunt episode, but kind of his individual growth. We see the background of it, and we see kind of what led him to be the person that he is, what led him to be and how far he's come as an individual. Um, we've known since episode one that his motivation was spite. You know, everybody kind of not believing in him, and then he just goes and signs his cousin right off the bat, and that's kind of been his main thing. But seeing it play out in a toxic way, I thought was really really interesting and really really cool, and kind of an interesting note to leave that character on of like I need to not be selfish, I need to not be um, you know, I need a better motivation then. spite. And so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. For me, I wish he learned the lesson a little more, I don't know, clearly, at least in this one, because you feel him making ground with the therapist, and we get that, which is great. And one of the best castings in the show for the therapist, it's the dude who does all the like trailer voices,
Oh,
which
that's
is
who?
fantastic. Yeah, the this season of Atlanta. It's that guy, which is great because he's like a familiar person, but it's so subconscious. I absolutely love that. Um, and so we see him make progress with the therapist, and then it's pretty harshly undermined by the events of Homeless Little Horse, which is one of the most deranged things in the whole TV show. But I love it because I don't know, you feel for everybody. Like you don't want to see her hurt this bad, but you also recognize that she's probably a really shitty person. Like we're kind of just taking Erd's word, kind of an unreliable narrator, given these circumstances. But she's not a good person. But she gets beaten down so hard that you also feel for her. And then you get those conflicted emotions the same about Ern. He does kind of reconcile them by being like, yeah, I should go back to therapy. Um, but it's cool to see the peak of his spite, and all these years from getting kicked out of Princeton, which was mentioned episode one, and we never heard why until now,
Yeah.
um, which is crazy. But have that build up and pay off here, as his peak spiteful moment, and as this kind of fucked up cathartic release of everything that he's been penting up and slowly letting out and using as his motivation. It's cool to see. I was still satisfied with his ending, but I kind of wanted a little more of a stamp on it, you know?
Yeah. Homeliest Little Horse is one of the more interesting ones to rewatch because you're
Hmm.
like, because you're looking for
Yeah.
reasons to hate this person, and like, yeah, she acts like very entitled and very idiotic, after
Hmm.
especially like when you're not rooting for her anymore.
Yeah.
But like, oh man, that's such a harsh. Like the children's reading was so painful
Oh,
to
it's
watch.
yeah. This
Like,
horse is stupid and ugly. That's why nobody likes him.
oh man, and the horse is her too, so it's like,
Yeah.
oh no.
And she finishes the book to the sleeping child in tears. Oh god.
Bro.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
here I was when I saw Tracy. I was like, "Oh, good for him. He got a real job. He's moving up." Here I was trying to put positive spins on it.
I was like, I thought it was a mistake. I was like, why would they do that? Like they thought I wouldn't recognize him without a do rag. Like
Yeah.
obviously that's Tracy. But then, but then I was like, oh, that's why. Okay, yeah,
Uh-huh.
that
It
makes
was
sense.
sad to see that his legendary waves didn't make it this far though.
Oh man, Tracy.
Yeah.
Uh, Still one of my favorite moments when he just walks out with the shoes. So
Yeah.
good.
Now I'm taking these.
So good, so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Ern also, we also learn a little bit more about his family with light skinned. That one,
Mhm.
I think, I like it. It just didn't make me laugh as hard as the other ones.
Mhm.
But I did think Genie was like such an interesting villain. We know that Ern doesn't trust his family members because of his experience they never revealed who, but someone abused him when he was a child,
Yeah.
and he has a complicated relationship with his parents from the start of the show. And yeah, I thought it was a funny one. And I don't know, what did you think about the way they portrayed his parents, and because this is the most we've kind of learned about them.
Yeah, because we only ever see them in episode one, right? Like they never really come
Yeah,
back, do they?
I
They
don't think
talk
so.
about him a lot, but I don't think on screen. Um, I liked seeing his family. I thought it was cool or interesting that they still don't let him into the house. Like after all this success and money, they still are wary of each other, which was cool to see. I'm glad that we got a solo adventure with his dad. It was so heartbreaking when the kid was trying to get the photo of him with the hat. I was feeling for him on that one. Um, and I liked this episode. I think it's the second weakest in this season, and pretty close, but uh, it's still hilarious. The Schmurda exit bit was absolutely amazing, and so there's a lot of highlights in here, but and I'm happy with what we got out of his family and their dynamics, especially the secondary family with kidnapping grandpa. But I still think it was one of the weaker episodes.
Yeah,
Weaker
it,
still being like a 9.5. Like it's
right.
still
Yeah, I also thought it was kind of cool to see Alan Earn like together, like as cousins, like just kind of
yeah,
dealing with family shit because
yeah.
they've dealt with everything else together, and like it's fun to see that they're like so ill equipped to handle it,
Hmm.
and the like yeah, I don't know. I also thought the escape was funny and that it was is interesting. Um,
Yeah.
and then yeah, I guess uh, um, his episode with isolating him and Lottie and Van in Snipe Hunt. How'd you feel about the way that episode played out and how it ended? And um, yeah,
I liked it a lot. I think my headspace was a little off because I did watch it back to back with the Crankdat Killer right before, and so that episode's just like off the walls, like violent and just like insane. And then Snipe Hunt is such a like humble episode where it's like real emotional characters, or real emotional events with characters that you have loved over the past four seasons. Um, and so I the whole time I was expecting like bad shit to happen. I just had this like pit in my stomach and I was on edge for like, all right, what's gonna happen? Like a snipe is gonna come murder Lottie or something, like something crazy is gonna happen. Obviously not to that extreme. But I had a feeling that like bad shit was about to happen. So once I kind of put that away and just sat with the characters in this moment, we know that he, from the therapy episode, we know that he really wanted alone time with Van and Lottie. So it was cool to see that kind of play out here, and see why, as he tries to convince her that he's changed. What we've seen them go through has had the effect on him to want to be a father, and be a part of a family and move away together. And I think the payoff was great. I think it was deeply emotional. I was like tearing up multiple times during this episode. Um, and I also really like that we never got to see them leave. Like we just don't know what happened exactly. We don't know what that they made it to LA. Who knows what happened? But I like that they stated their intentions in this episode and come together in a really beautiful way under kind of extreme circumstances at this campsite. I thought it was a great peak for these characters.
I agree, and I really as such like uh, an- uh, as such a deep fan of both Ern and Van as characters, I really wanted them to end up together, and I thought the
Hmm.
show was not going to do that, and they
Yeah,
did
same.
it, and I was so happy. I was like crying in front of like my brother and my housemate. I was like, oh my god, dude, it was so beautiful. And yeah, Francesca Sloan did an amazing job with the script, and Hiro Murai is my hero. Holy shit!
Yeah.
They apparently I didn't realize this until after, but or I didn't learn this until after, but they shot on digital and printed to film, and that's why it kind of looks slightly different
Okay.
than yeah, it looks slightly different from the rest of the series, and it's also a different aspect ratio, which I like. The more narrow frame helps dwarf the characters when they're near the trees and near the abandoned structures and all that stuff, and inside the tent makes them feel smaller and forces me to zero in um, on what they're thinking and on how and how like small their little conflict is compared to the rest of the world, but how much I care about it. And
Hmm.
yeah, I really love the slow pace as well. I just thought it was so. They just felt like a real couple, like a real family. Uh,
Yeah.
it was so nice to see like Lottie become an actual character this season um, in work ethic.
Hmm.
But to see her and her parents together was just so lovely and home and wholesome. And when he tells her that he loves her and she says yes to moving, it's the most satisfying thing I could have asked for. Uh, Next to episode 9, and yeah, I really liked it a lot. I thought it was so good.
Yeah. I think they definitely have the most satisfying ending together. Like the way that they actually end up together is perfect. It's still awkward and he's kind of bumbling and this time instead of just doing it broke, he's doing it with money and renting out the whole the whole campsite. Um, but it's nice to see that they don't like have this huge um abrupt change where they're like perfect for each other. It's still awkward. You know they're still going to have their tense moments, but you also feel confident that they're going to make it work and actually stick it out.
Yeah, and I actually kind of like when when shows do that, where they break up couples uh, that I root for, because I
Hmm.
know because there's something in the back of my mind that's like, oh, okay, so I've seen this before. They need both characters to grow, and then they bring them back together. Because when they have their like really big fight in season 2, I think, right? That's when they did the German thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. It's that's a really like tough one to watch, and so like seeing them seeing them uh, kind of or seeing Ern's realize his feelings for her when they spend a night together in Amsterdam, and then going all the way over back to here. It's just yeah, I agree. Really satisfying.
Yeah. And Van has a fairly light arc this season.
Yeah.
She's most prominently in work ethic and snipe hunt. And not in too much of of the rest of it. But what did you think of her arc leading up to Snipe Hunt?
Well, we leave the season off. We leave season 3 off with her
Yeah.
kind of trying to figure out who she is. You know, it's hard to reconcile individuality with motherhood, and because this, you know, you had this person uh, be a part of your body for almost a year, and then and then you're stuck with them for until they're an adult, and like you know, it's easy to lose yourself, and it's easy to run into the problems that she runs into in season three. And I think in work ethic, um, uh, it's not like a permanent resolution to it, but she definitely like she feels like more focused,
Hmm.
like being put in a position where she has to rescue Lottie and has to be her protector. I think you know, forces her to um, she says something in that speech. I should have written it down, but she says something about like um, about representing about what you represent when you're a woman, when you're a black
Hmm.
woman. And I think imparting that lesson to Lottie means uh, that she's grown. And yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy that that happened, and I was especially happy to see her, you know, ready to say yes to Earn by that time, and that it was a believable yes because of everything that she went through.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think work ethic raises the stakes even more for Earn because you see like she doesn't go through a lot of lengths, but you see like how much she still wants like Lottie by her side. Like she's in Homely's Little Horse, he offhandedly mentions that he wants to take Lottie to LA if Van says no. Like he still wants Lottie. And so for in work ethic you kind of get that that's not going to be an option. There's no shot that she's going to let that happen. So I think it also raises the stakes for that confrontation, um, which is great. And work ethics a hilarious episode.
Holy shit, dude! I as soon as they said Chocolate Land, as soon as they said Mr. Chocolate, I was like, oh, okay, I
Yeah.
know exactly what this is. And like a whole episode dedicated to that kind of to cinema that's made for a general black audience, not
Hmm.
rather than a cinema that's dedicated to being artistic. Like I think that was just so funny and
Yeah.
interesting, and allowing like a central protagonist in Atlanta to directly comment on it, I thought was really really fun.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
and, and Donald Glover was on one in that role. I don't know
He
what he
was.
was.
He's got some insane roles between that and Teddy Perkins. The dude needs to chill.
Yeah. I'm fine. Grits can't hurt me. What? Who the hell thinks of this shit?
It's so good. I'm not in control. Nobody's in control.
Crazy, crazy.
Oh,
Uh,
it's fantastic.
yeah, man. Um, and then uh, Al,
Yeah,
yeah,
Paperboy.
Paperboy,
Um,
a central figure for a lot of Atlanta, and they even say in the episode summary of Nine Things, like they always making Paperboy go through shit. Like
uh-huh.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, he has one of the more vague arcs this season. I think you see it heavily in the first episode, especially in one of the lines Darius says. He's like, where are you gonna go? You're not happy here. You hate LA. You hate New York. Like you don't like anywhere. And so you kind of get that his dissatisfaction is kind of always gonna be within. Um, he's got everything he wanted to achieve. He toured all of Europe. He has insane amounts of money. He made Yodel Kid win a Grammy. But he's still not happy, and he still feels incredibly unfulfilled. This kind of bounces around each episode. The Crankdat killer is a big catalyst for sending him to the farm in the second to last episode. And so I think he doesn't really get um, happiness or fulfillment, but I think he kind of comes to terms on that farm with um, just being a little more satisfied with himself and his life. But I didn't feel like a nice, neat bow on his ending the way that I did Van, Ern, and kind of Darius.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's supposed to be nice and neat because,
Yeah.
the central premise of Atlanta is that, for the famous black rapper, nothing's, he's never gonna feel satisfied. He's never gonna feel um,
Hmm.
uh, like it's enough. And yeah, it's also interesting too, starting off the season with his hero Blue Blood dying, and it's a very overt homage to MF Doom, but it's also a call to action for Al trying to figure out a legacy, figure out what his legacy is going to be, and
Hmm.
um, I think that Andrew Wyeth Alfred's world is like a good. I think it's kind of like a relief of that pressure. Like
Hmm.
it's not necessarily that he needs to find happiness or be um, uh, you know completely satisfied, but I do think he has some kind of peace, right? Because on the FaceTime with Earl at the very end, after everything that he's went through on the farm,
Yeah.
he still doesn't want to go back to Atlanta.
Hmm.
And I think that's really cool. And actually, the farm like felt like a whole microcosm of Al's career. Like when
Yeah.
he grows Blue Blood's weed, and it's really beautiful. He's so happy about it. When he fixes the tractor, he's so stoked on it. Just like the
Yeah.
way he was with his song. Um, but then the world or the song itself or the thing that he creates ends up biting him back, and and that's kind of been what he's been going through this whole series. And so I love that they took the time to reiterate that in that setting, and kind
Hmm.
of um, helped him come not come to any new realizations, but just like gave him like a good place to move forward.
Yeah.
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 And
He kind of comes to terms with just being himself. He doesn't need to have the next Justin Bieber furthering his cash flow or whatever. He just kind of becomes not satisfied, but a little more satisfied.
yeah, and I forget the name of the episode, but when he's interrogating that one kid, he was saying something like the
Hmm.
music's not even like it's not even me anymore. And I was
Yeah.
like, sorry, I'm paraphrasing, but yeah, that's I thought it was just really nice that he has like a place where he can grow as a person that's not connected to uh, anything else outside of himself.
Yeah. Did you see connections between him and the I'm gonna what's his name? Um, yeah, and, 1 second. Tom Washington, in the goof who sat by the door, because I thought the title was alluding to um, an episode in season three when he has the drug trip and he's dealing with the death of his mother, and he ends in a goofy hat sitting by a door. So I was trying to draw connections, and I got some of the the black artist wanting to make something for him, his community, and have a legacy to leave behind that from that. And I think that as characters, there's some similarities, but I was curious to see if you drew any of those lines.
I didn't draw any like particularly. I forgot about the goofy hat to be honest with season three, but I didn't draw any lines between Washington and Al. Um, I think overall, for me at least, what every time the show brought up legacy, especially in its final season, I think it's a meta thing. I think they're talking
Yeah.
about themselves and kind of what they want Atlanta to mean to everybody else from now on. And it's like,
Hmm.
is a goofy movie the blackest movie ever made? It's not for me to say, but that I think that that's certainly a goal that they had when they set out to make Atlanta. And I think that the show that episode specifically, I think is um, it's them just having fun with us, but it's also them and messing around with us, but it's also them kind of talking about themselves and what they're what they what they want the show to mean for people outside of just being fun entertainment, which it is. Um, I think that also rings true in the 10th episode when they're when because the episode's written by Donald Glover and it's him directly saying to us like or directly saying to his audience like black people need to trust each other when but then they can't, you know. um, yeah it's yeah, that's mostly what I gleaned from episode 8.
Yeah. Speaking of trusting each other, and Donald Glover trusting, in Homeliest Little Horse, he says the only person he trusts is Darius.
Yes.
He definitely is the bookend of this season. The first episode heavily features the conflict between him and the scooter-bound Karen. Um, and then obviously the last episode has the bit of a I don't know mind bending and ending, ambiguous ending. But what do you think of Darius this season?
Yeah, I noticed last season that there was less Darius, and so I was hoping that there would be a lot more this season. And it's still only like like 2 episodes, but I really focus on him. But I still loved him. I think they were both great. I think the most Atlanta is um, is a bit meta because it's just like it's everything that we liked about the show, just jam packed into one thing.
Hmm.
Random hijinks, uh, surreal, like puzzling moments, and scary moments. And then foreshadowing for the episodes to come. It's not just Darius. You know, kind of being restless uh, and not knowing what's real and what's behind him and all that stuff. But I can still hear it. It's so distracting. Uh, yeah, the first episode has Darius doing like on the run and not being settled, not feeling settled anywhere. And then it also has Al on a quest that doesn't lead anywhere. It also has Ern and Van in a really weird and horrifying moment, but working together to get out of it. So I think all of those foreshadow the where we see the characters end up, which is nice. Um, and I just think the first episode is like a fun Darius story. I don't think it's
Yeah.
like it's a really like overt thing about his character. Um, I also do like that, but with number 10, it was all a dream. I absolutely love it. I think it's a great way to end the character on. I think they know that Darius is a lot of people's favorites,
Hmm.
not just because he's the funniest, but because I think he's kind of like uh, like the heart of what Atlanta is, like just kind of a weirdo and
Yeah.
but a lovable weirdo. And I think the leaving it. I was really hoping that they would leave it on an ambiguous note. I just wasn't sure what it was going to be, and I'm
Hmm.
happy that it was this because it was so good. The idea that either the entire episode was a dream, the entire series was a dream of Darius, or that Darius is just going insane. I think either one. I think all three are uh, are just a fun way to wrap things up. 41 episodes, and that's the way you leave us. Like it's great. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Absolutely agree. Do you think it was the whole? Where do you lay? What would be your guess? Not that like we're obviously not supposed to know, but
I think it makes the most sense to me that the entire episode is a dream, but not the series. I think that we see. Okay, so we finally get a Darius reveal that the reason why he's not um, uh, why we never see his family is because he lost his parents and his brother,
Mhm.
and I think filling that void with Ern, Van, and Al um, made him happy, and we see him like kind of look at them from a distance and look at them from behind a screen or no a window, and he smiles, um, kind of disconnected from them,
Mhm.
and then he um, yeah, I think he's trying to fill the void with them, and I think he's dreaming about them because they're leaving Atlanta, and he is not.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's I don't know. I'm happy not knowing.
Yeah, same. My guess, which I was telling others about, was I think some Atlanta episodes were in Darius's head, and most weren't. Like Teddy Perkins, I think is a big obvious one that I think was just in his head the whole time, um, and was a dream or hallucination in the sensory deprivation tank. Um, but I think we also get a hint at this, and I don't know if they were planning on this ending from episode one, but he has that deja vu where he's like, I've been here before. Like, where's the dog? There's this thing, like all the. And so I think that there's like overlap and like, I don't know, there's some weird shit going on. But I think some of the more surreal episodes were a Darius Dream episode. But either way, regardless, I'm happy not knowing, and I'm happy with that they ended it that way, and I'm happy that we got some last Darius. Like it's very emotional. Like I was tearing up with the scene with his brother, and a lot of other times in this. When he's sitting on the couch waiting to see if Judge Judy's thick or not. I never thought that would get me emotional. But it did because I don't know. Darius has such a special place in the audience's heart in this series. And like you said, I think that's probably why they decided to end it with him is because we feel such a strong attachment to him. He's the nicest of them. We trust him the most. And so it feels like a very personal, friendly goodbye to the gang.
Yeah, and it's a lovely homage to Popeyes.
Yeah.
both critiquing it as like a corporation, and also just like it's good. It hits every time. Like
I did see some people pointing out that in season one, Ern says to Darius that he's broke and gotta eat, and then the last he's like forced to eat because of the wealth that he's made, and it's like eating has become this like dangerous situation when all he wants is his Popeyes with his family. Is basically like what it comes down to. He just wanted his people around him, and I think it ties in great, and it makes me smile.
100%, 100%. Yeah, I don't think there's any way that he found a pink Maserati and stole it successfully.
Yeah, yeah.
So
But
I
there
don't.
are sirens when he's watching Judge Judy. Not that there's no shortage of sirens in a city, but like there are sirens going.
There are sirens. So was his smile relief, or was it like, oh, great? You know,
Yeah.
that's something
I think
that's
it
just left up to us. Like,
yeah, if it is real, I think his smile is, well, at least I'm like with my friends and I got to have this like last moment. Um and if it's fake, I think the smile was Judge Judy's thick booty.
shout out, Big Judge Judy, man. Um, Anything else you wanted to bring up this season about the overall, um, yeah, about the message of the
Mm,
series or the anything else you noticed you wanted to?
Not really. I think I said my piece. A hilarious season, a fantastic season. I think the showrunner said they set out to make a black fairy tale, and it felt like a fairy tale, and I enjoyed it literally every single episode. There wasn't an episode where I was like, nah, like start to finish, fucking 10 out of 10.
Hell yeah, dude. All right. Um, Favorite episode or what?
Yeah.
Favorite scene? I don't.
Well, the
We do favorite
scene feels
episodes,
a
right?
bit. Yeah, yeah. Let's do three favorite episodes.
All right.
Um, you want to go first?
Sure. I'll do. I think the most Atlanta, just because I thought it was so much fun, and and then poor Kenya, man, getting out of that thing for like
Yeah.
since Now You See Me Too. Now You See Me Too came out in 2017.
And
That's
then just getting stabbed.
yeah. Well, or she's able to get away. You
Yeah,
never
we'll
know.
see.
But yeah, I I just thought that was so funny, and she was really great as a guest star.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then seeing all their exes and like, what's going on, man? I had
Yeah,
no idea what to make of that episode until it ended, and I was like, hell yeah, this is great.
yeah. And it is
Um,
real cool to see Ern and Van have to like confront their past that they always just avoided. Like they hated talking about each other's exes and all this other shit that goes on. So it was nice that like in a weird, dark, surreal, scary kind of way that they had to navigate it together.
yeah, hell yeah. Um, yeah, episode one. I mean, I gotta go crank that killer. I just, because like, not just because it's such a treat to see Donald Glover and Lakeith Stanfield kiss, but the whole Al story was
Yeah.
absolutely because you see his face when they say like, oh, he's been killing people who make crank that videos, and then they cut to Al and his smile is
Yeah.
completely gone.
The video of them doing it was fucking great too.
It's amazing. And then the little side plot of the guy who wants to be a rapper and then like it just goes up to Al at the worst possible time.
Yeah. Just starts freestyle.
Yeah. It's so bad too. He's like, my life is like a movie, my eyes like a
Yeah.
um,
Oh, so good.
yeah. And then I'll go Snipe Hunt. I think
Mm.
yeah, I was I had zero worries about the way the show would end. I was like, okay, if this is how they're ending this story of their relationship, then I completely trust that the finale will be great.
Yeah. Um, yeah, some bangers. I will have. I think Crank That Killer is fantastic. Um, like the most Atlanta is like the peak Atlanta episode, but Crank That Killer is like the peak Atlanta episode for me. Like I just want them to have to kiss in the back of a van for some shoes and then have the dude get Pulp Fiction all over the windshield. Um,
So good.
it's a great time. Um, I I will also go. I'll go with the goof who sat by the door just because the audacity of it. I don't know if it's like the most rewatchable or it'll be like my favorite in the long run, but just to have a straight laced documentary where like if you don't know the what any history of Disney like I don't, it's plausible until like the glove is in the mud after he dies and stuff. They just start taking it slowly too far, but they are slow with it. It's just the audacity to be like, here's a premise that's like believable, we're just gonna pretend it's all real and
Yeah.
just not do anything about it is fantastic, and I think it's what makes this show so great.
The temptation to Google Thomas Washington during the
Yeah.
episode was
Oh
unreal.
yeah. I avoided doing it till after because I didn't want it to be. I was like, it's probably not real, but I don't want it to be like spoiled because there's gonna be something.
Yeah, same.
Um, and then I think my favorite might actually be Andrew Wyleth, Alfred's World.
So
I
good.
just think it's hilarious, start to finish. There's real danger. I thought Paperboy was about to just fucking die like 6 times. Um, the moment where he gets the tractor working and he rides it around to Rollin' by Goody Mob is like the most triumphant feeling I've ever felt in a TV show ever. It's just a dude on a tractor going like 3 miles an hour. The feral hog fight was such a good payoff with the cast iron skillet and
Yeah.
everything else leading up to it. And the phone call after where he's like, just chilling, man. He's like bleeding out on the floor. Is just fantastic and peak Paperboy. So it was nice to see like the centerpiece of the show get such a fun finale episode for that character.
100%. Yeah, I love that episode so much.
Hmm.
I literally, as soon as it was over, I stood up. I was like, so good. Uh, it's very, very good. Yeah, and I guess it's a ref. I guess I googled it after because I forgot who Andrew Wyeth was, but he's a famous painter, and he has this painting called Christina's World, which the episode is a direct allusion to.
Okay.
Um, so, fun facts. Uh, I forgot all about Christina's World, and it's a fantastic painting. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, uh, yeah, folks, that was the season finale of the greatest show ever made. um, yeah, you can find it on Hulu or on the FX.com, I think, or just watch it on TV if you have FX. I'm sure they'll rerun it. But just watch it on Hulu. It's all there for you.
Yeah.
Or buy it. I'll probably buy it if they come up with a box set. And yeah, thank you for listening. Anything else you want to leave the people with, Jared?
Nah, I'm good.
Faux show. Alrighty, guys. We love you. Have a great day. Goodbye.
Bye.
Let's go.
What a lovely day!
Andy, there's a whole world out there. Jump in.
Can you dig it?
Yeah.
You must always pay strict attention.
I was just completely enamored by it the entire time.
Dude, he did not have to go that hard.
I know, man. Isn't it wild?
The Jared Cast.
So it began.